President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States. Bill Tucker reports.
The Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America sounds benign, hardly like a policy that critics call NAFTA on steroids. It's a deal that few have even heard of.
It's being done again by very few people at the very top on behalf of the investment class, but the working class of people. Political officials across our country, from communities, from cities and so forth, they don't know anything about this.
Yet it was agreed to by Mexico's President Fox, Canada's Prime Minister Martin, and President Bush in 2005.
Congressman Virgil Goode wants to stop the Security and Prosperity Partnership.
It will lead to a union between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and it will greatly harm the sovereignty of the United States. It is part of the open borders philosophy to do away with borders, and I vigorously oppose it.
Launched in 2005, it's a dramatic government and business effort to, quote, harmonize regulations. The president promised no matter who the players are in Washington, Mexico City, and Ottawa, this bureaucracy is meant to endure.
I appreciate the commitment of the Prime Minister and the President toward a spirit of partnership to outlast whatever politics may occur.
On Capitol Hill, testimony calling for Americans to start thinking like citizens of North America and treat the U.S., Mexico, and Canada like one big country.
The best way to secure the United States today is not at our two borders with Mexico and Canada, but at the borders of North America as a whole.
That's the view in a report called Building a North American Community.
One sign that this is our future is the plans for the superhighways from southern Mexico through America and into Canada. These plans are not secret any longer. Huge amounts of property will be taken in the name of free trade, peace, and security.
After you take my land away from me to build this big road, this big highway, I'm not even going to be able to drive on the highway unless I pay a toll fee. And to top it all off, I'm going to be paying the fee to a private corporation from Europe to even drive for the privilege of driving on this highway that my good Texas soil will have been taken from me in order to build. And she says she says no way. She even says, I will invoke the Second Amendment and I will fight you over this. Over my dead body will you build this. And the entire meeting hall there in Yorktown, Texas erupts in ovations and cheers for what she said. That's the way the people of Texas are responding. Because you see, if private property, if the government can take private property from the individual for arbitrary or illegitimate or flimsy reasons, then we don't have democracy at all, we have dictatorship.
You will have a national ID card with a radio frequency chip in it. You will not be able to move about freely. This is terrorism of the most worst kind, brought on you by our own government. The strongest, freest nation in the history of mankind will be averaged into world communism.
A plan to set a national standard on driver's licenses is setting off a political revolt nationwide. More than half of the 50 states say no way. The controversial question, would it make Homeland Security better or worse? Is this, though, going to make things safer?
Well, people who have studied identification carefully, as I have, and I've written a book on it, know that ID is very good for keeping the law-abiding citizen in line and for tracking our movements and what we do. An ID, a national ID of this kind, does not prevent the criminal, does not prevent the terrorist from acting. There just really isn't any proximate correlation between the use of ID or false ID and terrorist attacks.
The U.S. government is closely watching that situation to determine how best to impose the RFID driver's license identification card here in the U.S., which is supposed to become mandatory in 2008.
Now the New York City Police Department wants to install cameras like this one throughout the entire city.
505 cameras are slated to create what some call a ring of steel around areas like the financial district, considered a prime target for terrorists. Critics question the move.
It's chilling that somebody in government knows every place I go and with whom and when. That's a little bit scary, I think.